Hello everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the new wonderful weapon refinery update we just got involving the Tikis. Linde, I'll just call her Diaochan, and Merric. My thoughts on the matter, and some strategies for each. Now, each of them are incredibly good weapons, so let's get down to it. To start things off, we have Tiki and her Breath of Fog. Not quite as cool as Breath of Fire, but hopefully one day she'll actually be able to breathe fire again. Okay, so this thing, 16 might, 1 range, effective against Dragons, and continues the proud Diaochan tradition in that you get to heal every second turn for 10 HP. And of course, adaptive damage, as all dragons do, where you calculate damage using a lower of foes dev or res if they have a range of 2. Alright, so on top of this, if Tiki is within 2 spaces of a sword or dragon ally, she gets 5 to attack and defense. That, my friend, is amazing, okay? And I'm so glad they chose attack and defense too, because otherwise it would be crap on adult Tiki. Now, from what I've seen on like GameFAQs or Reddit, some people think that, oh, it's gobble, it doesn't have distant counter. But please, guys, don't do that. This is a good weapon. Don't underestimate it. Don't think like Game Press. Think bigger than just being meta. Okay, so let's take adult Tiki for example. Old Tiki is fat and slow. So instead, all of her weight goes into attack and defense, making her a strong enemy face unit. That's nothing new. Now, one of the problems with units such as this is that you have to take 2 hits before you can unleash your skills, even with steady breath. So even though lightning breath does do adaptive damage, there's a good chance the caster attacking Tiki could take that 1 hit and then finish her off on a second attack, especially if they have a skill ready to rip Tiki's face off. Now, what's different is that if you were to be without lightning breath or distant counter, is that you can instead equip the wonderful deflect magic seal. And then suddenly you find yourself able to take that second hit, ready to give her opponent a really hard time. Now, meanwhile, because Tiki has defense out the ass, and now with Fog Breath she gets 5 more, she essentially has 40 defense before buffs, defense boon, or any A slots. So okay, if we were to go and give her steady breath, that she suddenly packs, okay, alright, let's see, 4 from steady, 3 to boons, 4 from being plus 10, 6 from close defense. Wow, that's 57 defense, guys! 50 goddamn 7. Like, you'll literally do no damage, do no physical damage to this god. Like, Lucas and Hinata, yeah, they're tough bastards too, but then Tiki shows up and like, and then they're blown away by the scent of her dinner last night. And the funny thing is, unlike them, Tiki is effective against dragons. So even if they come in and try and target her weakness, guess what? No, wait. Let me try to do that strange sound when she attacks. Her reply will be painful and particularly stinky. So with her godlike defenses, anti-dragon, and deflect magic, adult Tiki is a goddamn juggernaut that'll tank all manners of attacks. Any scratches you make on her will be automatically healed due to renewal. Disgusting. I think at that point, maybe running plus attack for her might be a better idea, because all that defense is just excess. Now ideally, she should run Ignis for maximum damage. Although Moonbow isn't too bad either, because that extra damage could help her take down an opposing dragon on her first counterattack, rather than taking a second hit. For many units, this technique becomes double Moonbow! What does it mean? All things considered though, the popular green dragons such as Mirth, Robin, and Faye will probably get instantly obliterated anyway. Maybe even without the Moonbow. I haven't quite done the math to verify all this yet, so carry Moonbow just in case if they have buffs. Now the best part is, speaking of buffs, she pairs with Prince Overdrive Marmar himself, and can receive even more defense and attack. So yeah, not to mention all this, including the Pref would actually increase her score too, so she'll be in just the right spot to deal with the tanky armors and dragons in the upper echelons of arena combat. So, yeah, I mean, like, I guess if you're fighting Zelgius, I guess I can recommend you to use Guard instead, so you don't end up eating Black Luna. Yeah, you'll find a lot of Zelgius in the upper echelons of arena. You'll need to actually look out for Black Luna. So if you want to be safe, carry a Guard so that you can take a hit. I mean, look, sometimes you don't even need quick repulse just because of how much damage Tiki can handle. So that might be a safer idea. But, you know, if you don't mind and you have someone else to deal with Zelgius, then don't worry about it. Anyway, she is disgustingly strong and is easy to merge to plus 10 as well. This breath is really sick, yo. Okay, though. Now, let's see. How about young Tiki? How will she handle this toy? Well, a lot of her points are spent in speed and resistance, so that leaves her not nearly as focused, with her attack of 31 a little wanting compared to her older form's 35, though she does have the advantage of being able to double dragons or slower armors without investment, and can probably handle general combat better, especially if paired with Marmar, in which case she can invest in speed and participate in all manners of combat as both the aggressor or a defender. All in all though, this weapon is awesome, especially adult Tiki, who is easy as hell to merge to plus 10. Young Tiki is a good side option, if you have her, that is. I only have one myself after all this time, as a pity breaker. Anyway, the ability to fight dragons by itself, just that one buff, is worthy of consideration because of all the dragons that are just in the game lately. Do not underestimate this weapon. Next, we have Diaochan. Her aura now provides plus 6 attack to adjacent magic or staff allies at the start of a turn, rather than that stupid breath of life thing. In an infantry team, this could be very helpful, but I think that this buff may have came too little too late, as tactics is now a thing. All things considered, mounted healers are generally preferred, while powerful flyer mages are starting to make the rounds. Still, if you run an infantry team with specialized tools such as infantry pulse, something like this could be useful for that one extra infantry healer or a second mage nearby. The bonus plus 5 to attack and speed while being nearby said allies don't appear to take mobility into account, so a cavalry healer, say Dark Overlord Elise, should still provide that powerful buff for Diaochan. Now, as for how powerful it is, well, compared to Blade Tome, you can double a wider array of enemies, but you might miss a few kills that Blade Tome could have provided you without being restricted to being within 2 spaces of a magic ally. Though within an infantry team, you can unleash a powerful attack right off the bat, whereas you can't because of that cooldown delay with Blade Tomes, which does somewhat make up for this. Either way though, she wouldn't be built much differently from what she already has been, using Swift Sparrow or Life and Death with Desperation, blah blah blah. So in conclusion, I have to say that while this tome is good, it'll depend on rather if you have an infantry team with infantry pulse or not. The opportunity cost of setting up such a team make this tome just a little bit weaker than Blade Tome in my opinion. The second benefit of having to be adjacent to magic allies in order to provide a visible buff is honestly not all that great compared to Delthea, who provides some to melee targets thanks to team composition. As generally, Infantry Pulse is not a skill you put on a mage unless you have X-Test to spare. Okay, so finally, we have Merric Ishtar, who finally got a buff to his own Excalibur rather than jacking someone else's Excalibur. Now, how does this new beast fare? Well, first, Merric retained his anti-flyer advantage, which is really nice, as flyers is a popular unit type, and will continue to be as Intelligence System seems to appear to have a hard-on for giving popular units a flying mount. As it is right now, there are tons of blue flyers for Merric to obliterate. Summer Corrin is also blue, while Spring Camilla has very little res. Flying Nino and Girl Grima seems to have middling res that can be taken advantage of, though only if she's not packing dragon skin. And even Bulbasaur's red and Flying Lobster riding Peacock brain damage can also be brought down if Merric has a powerful skill active. Which brings me to the second effect. The fact that now he gets a cooldown reduction. Although I would prefer having the Wadal effect from Dark Excalibur for maximum damage. At the very least, he can pad that Quicken Pulse slot he would have otherwise taken with an attack +3 to bolster his damage all around. This will allow Merric to throw out a powerful attack that deals tremendous damage on the very first turn, while leaving Quicken Pulse open for another member of his team to throw out something equally disgusting of their own. Like Ishtar, for example, who also just so happens to have a cooldown reduction tome. Absolutely disgusting. Merric Ishtar is a real team besides being just a crazy kid with a Millennium Rod. Then finally, the third effect of Excalibur, which gives him +5 attack and speed, just like Linde or Diaochan. So if he is within 2 spaces of his Millennium Rod, or guess who, Ishtar, he gets a rather sizable bonus to his attack and speed. At +10, a neutral speed Merric would have 46 speed if he uses Life and Death, which isn't too bad if he gets a buff or two, which brings him over 50. I highly recommend going this route, as Merric has 26 base attack, and he really desperately needs the plus attack super boon above all else. Alternatively, you can also run close defense on him, or close counter on him, and have him tank and counter people to death, especially melee flyers, as his defense isn't too bad, and 41 speed is generally good enough to not get doubled. Though I think having him as an attacker is probably better, especially if Infantry Pulse is involved. So with that said, Merric received a decent buff with the latest update. Now, will that score him into the higher tiers made by elitists who focuses their tiers in a vacuum? Probably not. But make no mistake, Merric Ishtar is no longer just some weak punk you can push around. You will find that he actually has some bite this time around. Don't underestimate him. Psha! Alright, and that wraps up our little weapon refinery review. I thank you all for watching. Until next time.